everybody, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be the books I have read pretty much in December. And I do have a list here. I made my reading goal of 100 books last year. I actually read 105, which is an average of a little over 2 books a week. So I know that it's not possible for everyone, and let me just say it was a really big reading year for me, and this year I'm going to make it more about making things, not necessarily reading in my spare time. I'm going to be, being more proactive in some of the arts that I really enjoy, just haven't been doing. So, but I still have that challenge for 100 books, and within school and other things, I think it'll work out okay. We'll see. It's a goal. Whatever. And so far as what I have read in December, I will leave link down below Goodreads reviews. So there's like some more detail in some of the things that maybe by the time I'm finished, ready to upload this video, I will have forgotten some things. The other thing that I think I'm going to start doing, and I know I've mentioned this in previous videos, is I think once I've gotten like 4 to 6 books, I am going to film my review then, because it seems like my reviews average between 2 and 3 minutes. And you guys like how I do my reviews, and so I kind of want to keep it that way rather than short and snappy. So Goodreads is linked down below. Especially this time, I don't have a lot of books to kind of hold up for you. So I leave affiliate Amazon links down below. So the reason I do that is, 1, anytime you use an affiliate link, it helps me and my family. 2, and this is actually even a bigger part, I would still use Amazon links whether or not I was affiliate with it. You can read reviews on there, so you can see what other people are saying. You can find deals, so on and so forth. Okay, so as you might know, if you have followed me for a while, or if you're new, we just did a cross-country move from California to Indiana. It took us about 5 days of driving 10 to 12 hours a day to get here, especially with a U-Haul that kind of slows down. And a lot of that was, so a lot of what I have to share is audiobooks, which is why I won't necessarily have something to hold up. So, there is that. I do consider audiobooks something I have read, and so that'll be in here. And so far as audiobooks, I know that can get, like, a subscription can get expensive or whatnot. Hoopla, and I don't know what it is for different libraries, but Hoopla is an app that my library has, that all I have to do is put in my library card, and I can check out books that way, or audiobooks or ebooks or whatever it is. So go ahead and check out and see if your local library has something, and that'll help you save some money. So already almost 4 minutes into this video, and all I've done is just talk about this. So let's start talking about the books. The first one that I finished this month was The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and I was really looking forward to that book. I had heard great things about it, and I didn't enjoy it at all. I've heard that I've given I've heard one person said, insofar as my reviews, I gave it a really harsh review. One of the reasons I just didn't like it, it is based on a true story, and I have read a lot of World War II books, and in comparison to some of the greater ones that I really enjoyed, I thought it wasn't as good. I know that we cannot understand ever being in a position like some of those people were. And in this case, the young man ends up going to Auschwitz instead of his brother, I believe it is. Because he's single, he doesn't have a family. There's just like this haze with that. I don't quite remember the details. However, once he gets there, he does go into survival mode, and he kind of plays the game, so to speak. And he ends up being, again, he just plays the system. And not only that, it carried him through the rest of his life that way, to the point where he did end up embezzling after he got out of, and began his life again. But in this case, when I say he plays the system, he played the Nazi system, which you can't really, blame him for that. But he does it almost to the expense of others. And I just didn't like that kind of character. And you kind of hope for a character development in that. And he really didn't. And so because of that, I just didn't, it's kind of like Jacob Liar. For those of you that might have seen that film, it's a very hard film. He's not really a likable character, but he kind of redeems himself. And I kind of expected something in that, and it never happened. Whereas within other books, even though they were in certain situations where they could, or in certain situations that were very difficult and they had to overcome, even if they had made decisions that I wouldn't have necessarily think that I would make, you never know. You're not in there. You can only assume. In this case, I didn't see any of that. And then again, I don't think it would have mattered so much if I hadn't read that later on in life, he ended up doing this with his factory that he built up. He ended up kind of embezzling from himself, or embezzling. And embezzling wasn't the word they used. I can't remember what it is, but that concept. So, I thought that was unfortunate, and it wasn't as great as I thought it would be. And then we hit the road, and then we read or listened to Hugo Cabret, or the Inventions of Hugo Cabret, actually. And we loved that one so much. It is definitely a 5-star read. It kind of is a little bit of Dickens and Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events kind of meet. And it's about this boy who basically, his father was a clock person, or that might have just been the uncle. Anyway, his father worked in a museum, worked with inventions, did things like that, and he finds this mechanical man who he's set up to write something, and once they get the mechanics working, we'll figure out what this mechanical man set down to write. And his father basically died, trying to figure this out. There was a museum fire. He died. He goes to live with his uncle, who takes care of the clock at the train stations. And then his uncle disappears one day, and he kind of starts taking care of it himself, just so that he has a place to stay without anybody else knowing. And in that, he's trying to find and fix the mechanical man. And within that, you then have a toy maker who has also so it's steampunk, but it's not. It's like a realistic. It was really well done. The audiobook was phenomenal. But this guy who owns this toy shop catches Hugo stealing some of these toys. And he ends up having to work for him. He earns his trust. He meets the daughter, or goddaughter. And then there's just like this mystery wrapped into who is this toy maker and why does certain things happen. And it kind of just, again, is just a really fun story, and you learn more, and it's not as dark as you expect it to be. So that was really good. Loved the audiobook. And then after that, I did Persuasion by Jane Austen, and loved that one. I mean, it's Jane Austen. The specific movie adaptations that we had seen for that really follow closely to the books. And so it was interesting to listen to it, but still see everything kind of playing out in my mind as that scene portrayed it. Anne is just, I just have a heart for her, because she has lived in the shadows for so long, and then she's starting to kind of become herself, become her own person, and I would have loved to know Jane Austen. I would have really loved to known her and see how she developed these characters, what made her do all that. It would have been really nice to know her, and I really enjoyed Persuasion. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, so then after Persuasion, I have Daring to Hope, which is by Katie Davis Majors, I believe is her married name, and that is the sequel to Kisses from Katie. I did not enjoy it as much as Kisses from Katie. This one seemed to kind of expound on what she has already written, but insofar as I felt like I was reading the same thing that she had written in her first book, just with different circumstances. And that's fine. It's not that the content is outdated, whatever, but I don't think it impacted as much as Kisses from Katie did. We did get to see how she met her husband, kind of how she has grown insofar as, being a mama with the children and certain circumstances she's had. But I don't think it impacted me as much as Kisses from Katie. But I personally think that if you have gone through adoption or fostering or something like that, I really do think that it would be more impactful to you. It's something that I would like to do, but since I haven't, I could just, hindsight, I could see how some of those things would really, you could connect with, because you have shared a similar circumstances. And since I haven't, it's not that it didn't mean anything to me. I just don't think I connected as well as, again, Kisses from Katie, going into that, wanting to do that, and then growing in that. So that was Daring to Hope. And then I did, through Hoopla, Knowing God by J.I. Packer. That one is heavy. It is one that everybody recommends Christians reading. And I will say I did not get to finish that before it had to be returned. I had I think 1 hour left on my audiobook. And I was trying to listen to it and get it done. And I just did it before it had to be returned. So I'm really bummed about that. But I got the majority of it listened to, and there was definitely some things that was really good, impactful, really made me think. Again, it was more of a heavier book, just because of the things that we needed to process, needed to think about holiness, why we do certain things. Are we just doing it out of habit, or are we really thinking about what we're doing? And so that was really good. There were some things in there that I definitely did not agree with. But I think you're going to get that anywhere. That doesn't mean that I don't think it wasn't worth reading. But definitely, that was definitely a good thought-provoking one. And then we did Echo by Pam Ryan. It'll be right here. I don't quite remember it. She's the one that wrote Esperanza Rising, Discovering Naomi Leon, or something like that. And loved Echo. The audiobook was phenomenal. And it is the story. So this one is kind of like a whimsical fantasy realism kind of thing. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But it starts out with a boy in World War I, or that timeline, or before-ish, and basically he ends up going into another world, and he bought this harmonica, and he ends up going into another world, and he has this book that he reads, and it was given to him by the same gal that sold him the harmonica. And he starts reading it, and it's about these 3 princesses who, the king wanted a royal heir, so a male. And so when the girls were born, he didn't want his brother to get it. So basically told the midwife to go and kill him. She didn't. She took him to her witch sister. The witch sister basically had then servants, slaves to kind of do her bidding. So there was 3 sisters, and then the king died, and then the sisters basically can come back, and the witch gets angry, so she puts this curse on them. And I mean, when it's opening up with this, I'm just like, okay, this is not me at all. But it was intriguing, but I wasn't sure how the whole book was going to be. And basically, then this boy meets the 3 sisters, and they're like, oh, read us the story. And he's like, well, it's not finished. And so basically that story takes him up until the time when he meets the 3 princesses. And they're like, yeah, our story isn't finished. So they're stuck in this time warp thing where they cannot be released because the witch was angry that they wanted to leave her. So she puts this curse on them. And so basically this harmonica is going to save them somehow. Then it jumps ahead in time in history, and you have 3 different people, or 3 different children in various parts of the world who are basically tied to this harmonica some way. And one is in Germany, one is in New York, or I think they want to get to New York, but I don't think they're there yet. Anyway, and then one is in California. And basically it's how they use the harmonica to help someone else. And in so doing, basically they're going to free these girls. So the stories were very interesting. Again, this was really well done, because although this harmonica is magical and something, you're not reading a magical story. You're reading about these real children in these places during these times and with these circumstances. And then you've got this kind of magical element weaved through it. So it was really well done. There was music tied in the audiobook that was beautiful. So we really enjoyed that. And then as a Christmas read aloud, I read The Christmas Carol. And in the true style of Dickens, I'm like, dude, you could have just said less with more. But he likes to do more words, and you have to get through a lot of that. So, true Dickens, but Christmas Carol was fun. And then, let's see. I listened to a book. I was trying to do the Oh What Fun Readathon that Mackenzie Lane does here on YouTube every year. It's very enjoyable. And I keep trying to do it, but it's a week-long marathon, and I just don't really get it. Christmas Carol was on there, and then one was read the 25th book on your TBR, which mine was Confessions of a Domestic Failure, by, she's a popular blogger. I'll put it right here. I don't remember. And it was one of the books on my 25th to be read thing on Goodreads. And Hoopla had it. So that was really good. I listened to the audio of that. And so if you like That's Inappropriate, Christina Kuzanik, something like that, or Juggling the Jenkins, like those moms that kind of put little skits out that kind of make fun of certain things, and we're dying and laughing. If you like those people, the book is kind of like that. It's about this hot mess mama named Ashley, who wants to basically, she's failing at, being a new mom, being a housewife, being a stay-at-home mom. She's failing at everything. And she wants to be part of this Emily Walker's Better Home boot camp, which basically Emily Walker is like the perfect mother of 5 children that has a spotless house, designer home, vegan everything, the perfect mom, right? And it's her trying to become that. And so again, this book is a lot of the little skits that you see on Facebook that these other moms put out. And it was funny, but for a whole book, it kind of got a little old. It just, after a while, I'm not sure how to put it other than, like, realistically, nobody is this bad at everything. But in order to make fun of that perfection, you kind of need somebody that is bad at everything. And again, it was full of laughs. There was definitely, laughable moments, and then there was just rolling eyes. So in the end, it was like 3 stars. It was fun. I don't know if I could literally pick it up as a book and read through it. The narrator in that she did a really good job. I highly recommend that narrator. It was great. But as a book to read, I think I would have been over it really quickly. And then I did these last 2 books. I'm going to try to keep this short and snappy because they were really good. They were both 5-star reads. And that was The Murmur of Bees by I'll put her down here too. And that was another audiobook. And that one was like 500 pages, I think, online, or close to that. So it was a very long audiobook, but it was great. It was the story of a Mexican family before or just after World War I, through the Spanish influenza, through the Depression, and shortly after. And it's how this couple found, or their nana, the nana that was there, found this little baby wrapped in a blanket of bees and brought him home. And he had a cleft lip palate, which is before, all that was fixed. And he was called the Devil's Child because of that. And there's a little bit of unrealisticness to it with the bees, because he becomes like a bee whisperer. So he's always taken to the bees, and bees have always taken to him, and they kind of help this kid throughout the life. But the story isn't just about this kid. It is told through different perspectives. And it's not a fast-paced book. There's very little language. I didn't remember much at all. It tells a lot of Mexican culture, agriculture, the changing of the times. Like, I didn't know that our Great Depression had affected Mexico, but it had. And just a lot of, like, you get the family aspect of it, which my brother-in-law is Mexican. So I kind of see, some of the things that he had talked about, being born in Mexico, and how you just kind of see in this story and that, and then what he's talked about, and just kind of putting that visual in your mind. It's what makes a book come to life for me. And then you still have the whole upper class, lower class, but it's not like drastic. And how this man worked the system was just wonderful. It was unbelievable. So that one was definitely really fun to listen to. It was very slow going at first, but then I just got wrapped up and I wanted to know more, and I really, really, really enjoyed that one. And then the last one I finished was A Gentleman in Moscow by Immortals, and he wrote Rules of Civility, which I think a lot of people know that one. I'm not sure. Anyway, this one again it's a slow book. It is not a fast-paced book. It all takes place in a hotel, or motel. Hotel. It all takes place in a hotel, and anyway, in a Russian setting. And basically you just see Russian history unfold from 1922 to 1960s. And what I really, really liked about it is that, from our perspective, from a historic perspective, we see like Stalin and the Bolsheviks and the aristocracy, like, being trashed and all these things. We see it in like this big span, and you're just like, people, why aren't you waking up? Why are you accepting all this? But when you kind of see it through his eyes, through just a day-to-day life, even though it was just in a hotel, just seeing the atmosphere change around him just so subtly, it was easier to understand how, the Russians were so taken in by power and things like that. It's crazy. Everything is told. It's not told in the first person, but you just see him live day-to-day life and what he sees and there's kind of like flashbacks in different times of his period. Again, this is not a fast paced book at all, but he ends up friending this is on the back, so I'm not going to ruin anything, but he ends up befriending a little girl and watching him grown up, and then at some point she needs his help, and so it's just really interesting to see. It's kind of a little bit of The Terminal with Tom Hanks. It's a little bit of that aspect of, you're in these circumstances, what are you going to do with your circumstances? You're going to make the best of it. What are you going to do? And it's a little bit of that, but again, it's a lot of Russian history told in 475 pages, I think. 462. And it's really well done. I really enjoyed this. I think it will be a little slow moving for some people, but I really enjoyed it. Because of that slow pace and not because of quickly moving through all of that, through the eyes of different people. Anyway, so that's going to be the wrap up for this. It's going to be long. I try to keep things short and snappy, but one of the things I like sharing is pros and cons of books, which does remind me, the Murmur of the Bees didn't have a lot of language. This has some, but not too much. But the Murmur of the Bees does have a little violence, but it was tactfully done, and that comes out later in the book. But anyway, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. But until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter. I'll see you next time.